The major danger to the United States is, of course, nuclear war. And that battle is fought in space. Satellites sensing launches, being able to do mad, mutually assured destruction, and so on. The next 50 years will be about a much less integrated U.S. with the world. Not isolated, not certainly trading intensely with countries. But we have spent the past 85 years in constant warfare, small, large, covert, overt. I participated in some of that, and it was exhausting. So the country really doesn't have to do that. So what I see happening is two things. One, the United States taking on a role it had for most of its history as a country that is self-sustaining, highly trading, involved in the world, certainly on alert with the great military. But the next battle is going to be fought in space. This sounds strange, but it would have been strange if World War I to say the next war in Europe would be fought in the air and that nuclear weapons would arise. We were protected from nuclear war by mutually assured destruction. It was the one war in which the leaders themselves would be killed in the first round. We would hit and they would hit. And so there was no war because we had 30 minutes warning, because we had radars, and after the U-2 was shot down, and we were kind of spying on the Russians, they were spying in other ways, we launched satellites. Remember, the first American satellite and the first American-Russian satellite were launched a month for each other. First American man in space and first Russian man in space launched weeks apart. So I always wondered, and I don't know, that there was a kind of collaboration between the Russians and Americans to maintain MAD, mutual assured destruction. It was a really neat name for it. Now MAD is assured from space. Satellites are flying there. Satellites, one, blocked the Russians in Ukraine. American satellites could see small units down a meter level resolution. And we put in things like HIMARS, these missile systems that could, with precision, hit them. So now tactical war is governed from space. MAD is covered from space. And space is full of debris, anti-satellite systems. The Chinese are launching them constantly. We've launched 200 satellites this year. So,
communication satellites, military satellites?
Absolutely. Well, they're all communication satellites. They're all looking for, climate on the Earth. That's what they want to look at. These are all spy satellites going up there, and they're looking to the Earth, and they're maneuvering around each other. And one of the things the American public has to understand is the importance of space as a strategic facility. And in due course, it'll emerge. But the next 50 years for the Americans are going to be, I think, a very golden age. New technologies are coming. Every age we have, every cycle we have is built. The last one was built on the automobile, transforming it. Now it is built not so much on artificial intelligence in my mind, but on material science. We are crafting new materials at molecular level for space.
Physical materials.
Physical materials. For example, the lenses on satellites can see things that glass can't show them. They have acuity that can see a platoon operating. And when you reach that point, there's also massive changes in medicine. We're able to re-engineer genes, in fact. So it's in the first stages, but not in the primitive stage. So just as the automobile changed our life and the railroad changed our life previously and canals before that, material science, I think, is the radical innovation based on artificial intelligence having a major component to it. And all of that material science is developed for space, for survival of machines in space, particularly in telescopes. They were able to, there's a company called Prometheon that's put solar systems on satellites so they can survive and energize the satellites to maneuver. And it's really an extraordinary thing. And while we focus on Ukraine properly, we failed to understand that the reason the United States did not intervene with troops is we had a better solution. We spotted the Russians moving. We could order the Ukrainian forces to be right in their way, even though they were a small force. We knew where they were coming. And more importantly, we finally put in something called HIMARS, which was they could launch 6 rockets at a time, much better than artillery because the explosive force was great. And when there was Russian concentration. Now, this is an American was always in one of them, just one American. It was Ukrainian operated, but he had to put a card in to let the machine run. So then they pulled the trigger. So the Americans are more deeply involved than was known, but not militarily. We were not taking casualties. And it was about time that we dealt with a problem without taking casualties.
You probably have no idea where the meat that you eat comes from. Do you want to know? You should know. The overwhelming likelihood is that it passed through a massive industrial processing plant, probably owned by a foreign corporation. It's foreign meat. If that's the case, then you have no way of knowing where the animal grew up, how it was raised, what it ate, what chemicals big food pumped into it to increase its profits, what kind of drugs it was injected with. That's all kept secret, meaning you can never really know what you're eating. That's disgusting. Merriweather Farms is a far better option. It's totally straightforward. Unlike the corporate competition, Merriweather Farms controls its entire operation, the pasture on which the cattle graze, the facility where the meat is packaged in America, in Wyoming, across the Mountain West. The cattle are raised without hormones, without antibiotics, any other additives. Clean American beef. They'll ship it straight to your door, and it's delicious. We eat it here, a lot of it. So go to merriweatherfarms.com/Tucker and use the code Tucker25 for 15% off your first order. You can also save on a monthly subscription if you sign up now. That's merriweatherfarms.com/Tucker. You will love it. It's excellent.
So you believe the United States can remain dominant in space over the next 50 years?
We are dominant in space. When we go back to the Cold War, there was a time that was talking about missile gap. You might recall that. There was no missile gap. The U-2s went over the place and they spotted all of it. And we were way ahead of them. Our technology is way ahead of us, but we're modest, deliberately so. It's not that the scientists don't brag about it, but we understate our capabilities and we overstate the Chinese. That's always a good way to get budgets. We are much better at this. We've been at it a long time, far longer, and the Russians are third. The Russians are not second. Chinese are second. But command of space is now what the command of oceans was.
Interesting. And you think the Pentagon deliberately overstates Chinese capabilities in order to justify its budgets?
The Pentagon would never do that. No, but there's a sense of passivity in the United States on military things. There's a sense, okay, let's not waste money on defense. And there's a whole psychology developed in World War II of how to get money out. But I think the president and everyone else knows who is involved in this, that space is the battleground now. And the amount of money Elon Musk has put into his X-Force, and he's boosting a lot of the satellites, is enormous. But everybody's in on the game.
Elon Musk seems like a big player, though, in the...
He certainly is. I mean, he's a very smart guy. Maybe not likable, but he's a very smart guy. He went into electric cars, and then he went into, along with people like that, the Amazon king, I forget his name, Bezos. He went into rockets, and of course, it was just a hobby. But it emerged into a major business, and they're both major foundations of the American launch program. Because right now, you have to launch a lot of satellites because you're going to lose a lot of them. And if you lose a lot of them, you lose a tactical advantage on the ground and a strategic capability in nuclear war. So we're emerging into a new age, which normally has a new technology. And this new technology is partly satellites, but that's really 1950 stuff emerged. But the way these satellites are made is not made from the normal metals and plastics that we had in the past. Particularly their sensors are built with material science and solar energy and extraordinary things that will be integrated into the Earth as World War II technology became very present in the American economy in the 50s. That's what's going to happen. And I see this as one of those times where what normally happens in the United States is every 50 years we have a historical crisis. We rage at each other. This is the end of an era. It's when an era exhausts itself.
Yes.
And the era that began with Ronald Reagan as the social and economic era
Yes.
is at its end. It's played it out, the economic and social thing.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. We hope you'll subscribe to it. And by the way, you can hit the little bell on there and get notifications every time we produce a video. We hope you'll do that also.